Hello.
Hey, good morning. So you're putting your new desk to good use?
Yeah, um, if I'm shifting my weight a lot during this call, it's because I'm standing. Uh, that's the feedback. The only feedback I got was like people were like, you seem nervous today. You were like shifting and moving around a lot." Uh,
Right. Lou, everyone, you're starting to trend. I should do it too. All right, I'll link the notes real quick. Probably get started in a couple minutes. There's not a ton on the agenda, so if anyone has anything, please feel free to add whatever you'd like to talk about. I do know there's a couple that will not make it today, so maybe a little late too. All right. All right, we'll start in 1 minute.
discussion.
All right. Hey, Ben.
Hey,
All right. I'll link the notes one more time. And I guess we can go ahead and get going. If you don't mind adding yourself as a participant to the list, and then if you have anything you'd like to talk about, please feel free to add it. Like I mentioned, we have a pretty light agenda today, but nothing wrong with that. Maybe you can get some time back in your day. So cool. Looks like Todd's got a couple items quickly, and Todd, just FYI, I did add another bullet point for you to talk about quickly. So that I was the one that added that one.
yeah, I saw that. That's fine. So first, we had a meeting, mostly with the TC and some folks from Spotify, including Nicholas. About tracking events. So tracking events, really quickly, just for those who are out of the loop, mean some kind of like kind of out of band with feature flag evaluation API for basically declaring that a user has reached a certain point or maybe achieved a certain goal. And it really is useful for experimentation, right? So if you're doing an experiment and randomly assigning values and you want to know if that impacts conversion rate or impacts usage of a new feature or something like that, you kind of need something like this to close the loop. It's something we've been talking about for a long time, and I think it's really important. Um, and maybe maybe the last big thing we haven't specced out for our actual like code level API. Um, so there's interest in kind of kicking this effort off in truth. Um, and we're looking for people who are interested in driving that effort. So the TC is all on board with this being something we want to tackle in OpenFeature. Um, and we're really just looking for somebody who wants to drive it. And that means you'd have support from the TC, obviously, and whoever else is interested. So the plan is for me to send out a Calendly, which I'll do immediately following this meeting. I'll put it in the channels, and it'll be just for a quick meeting to kind of decide on goals and non-goals of this effort, and then identify people who want to like drive that effort. Um, and that's really it. So stay tuned. I'm going to put something in the channel, like I said. And yeah, I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Is there a Sorry, is there something written down around like what the sort of high level technical approach is going to be, or is that what is to be decided?
I think that's basically what is to be decided. I mean, I don't think we'll get too technical, but I think the main thing is going to be goals and non-goals. So what are we actually striving to do with the effort? What aren't we striving to do? And some really high level technical, probably identifying high level technical questions initially, um, and identifying kind of owners. So that's the goal. I guess that's it. Yeah, if there's no more questions, I'll move on to the next one, but stay tuned for that. I updated the technical guidelines, so it was actually an amalgamation of a couple documents we had spread around. So repo requirements in terms of security controls, um, code quality controls, that kind of thing have been moved there, as well as maintainership, kind of the responsibility of some of the maintainer roles, uh, the contrib repos, like there's some tidbits in there. But basically, I consolidated a whole bunch of documentation here and added some new documentation. So take a minute to review that if you're curious. I don't think anybody in this meeting is going to be at all surprised by any of the content in there, and most of you probably approved the PR. But it's just kind of formalizing some stuff, security guidelines, that kind of stuff as well. So this is probably the one-stop place for, if you're curious what kind of controls we need in the new repository and what our recommendations are for code quality analysis, that kind of thing, and stuff we get for free from the CNCF, that's probably the place to look. There's a lot of tools and that kind of thing in there. Any questions on that one?
Are all those tools provided for free, basically?
Yes, all the tools in there are either totally free, or the CNCF has an account for us. So yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff in there.
All right, perfect. Any other questions? Cool. I did link the notes again, so just a quick reminder if anyone just joined or is new. I think not to call you out, Cole, but I think this might be your first one. If you want to quickly say hi to the group, it's up to you.
Yeah, hey guys. Was just stopping by to see how this usually goes. But yeah, had a few chats with a few of you on Slack and also live where trying to figure out how to make Flag the open feature work for us, and especially on the Python side, getting a
Yo
in-process provider
Hay que encontrarnos
working.
en meetings.
So yeah, cool project. Just trying to follow up or like see what's going on and see what's useful for us.
All right, perfect. Yeah, sorry about putting you on the spot, but I saw you join, so figured pause real quick.
Welcome. Welcome.
Perfect. All right. And so yeah, usually the way this works is like you can just add some agenda items if there's anything you'd like to discuss, and we'll try to get through it. So we have a fairly light agenda today, so feel free to add topics if you'd like. Okay, so I'm gonna rip through a couple of things that I put here. Probably the most interesting one is we're looking to kick off like a feature flag observability project. So this is in like kind of cooperation with the OpenTelemetry team. We did like a phase one initially, basically last year. So that's where like the OpenTelemetry feature flag related like semantics come from. But they were pretty basic intentionally, essentially to get it through. But we're looking at basically the next generation of that, which should be basically extending the current specification, not really doing major changes or refactoring. And then moving it away from like the experimental label and things like that. So I did include a link to a blog post that one of my colleagues, Dan Dyla, put together. It's on the OpenFeature site, and it kind of talks through some of the current challenges we're looking to solve, and then links out to the draft PR. So that's in OpenTelemetry. It's pull request 2042. what Dan's ask was, is like, if this is interesting, either as a feature flag vendor, observability vendor, or just like an end user, please comment on this or add reactions or whatever, because we're looking for, you know, basically the OpenTelemetry team needs to make sure there's enough interest in it to make sure it's worth their, you know, time and effort. And so the more you can basically comment, give feedback, contribute, whatever, will help this move a lot quicker. We do have a few ins in OpenTelemetry, like their process is a bit complex, I would say, but we do have some people on the team, both at Dynatrace and then some other people we've like met at KubeCon and stuff. So we should be able to move this along quite quickly as long as we have, like, I guess, the support from the wider like OpenFeature community. And it wouldn't necessarily be OpenFeature specific. This is more feature flag specific that we would treat as like a first class, I guess, citizen within OpenFeature itself. So. Yeah. Any questions on that section? Oh, and we did create a Slack channel too. So it's called OpenFeature Observability. And it's just a way to, I pulled in some of the people from the OpenTelemetry team as well into that channel. So feel free to pop in and say hi. Ideally, especially if you're like an end user, like any kind of challenges that you've run into, especially on the server. So anything around like feature flags and the kind of maybe some of the complexity they introduce. If you can give us use cases, challenges, whatever, we can try to use that to make sure that we're handling those use cases in the updated semantics. Cool. I'll pause there. Any questions on that? All right. Perfect. I also wanted to just quickly mention a couple weeks ago, Jonathan and I put together like a OpenFeature project overview deck. It's in here. It should be available to everyone. So if you want to take a look at it, you can, I'm sure, like clone it and modify it to your purposes, whatever you need. But it gives an overview of the project, who's been involved, some statistics on, you know, project growth and things like that. And last week I talked to Chris Laniziak, who's like the CNCF CTO, and Chris Kondo, who's the forester analyst, and we were talking through basically OpenFeature. I went through this deck, and it sounds like there's a chance that Chris Kondo is at KubeCon Salt Lake City. So that's something to also maybe keep in mind. He's a forester analyst that writes a lot about feature flagging and like DevOps tooling and stuff. So could be a cool opportunity to kind of help get the word about feature flagging and OpenFeature out at the event. Any questions on that section?
What were they most interested in, I guess, as part of the presentation?
So it was a very, very quick one, and I may have honestly gotten too into the weeds. I started talking a lot about the feature flag observability stuff, which Chris seemed to be really interested in, but I have no idea. So like we spent a little bit of time talking about that. I only had about 15 minutes for my section, because Chris Anisiak talked more about the like KubeCon in general and some of like the trends around like platform engineering and things like that. So didn't really get into the weeds. He already knew a decent amount about the project already, so it was just more of a quick update and stuff. So it was interesting. Yeah, didn't get into a ton of details there. Yeah, any other questions on that section? All right, perfect. Just wanted to really quick let everyone know that there's and I don't know if this is the final name, maybe Jonathan can confirm this, but there's a feature flag super stream basically event that Andrew McLean initiated, but there's a ton of like feature flag vendors and tools and a lot of people. I'm actually going to be interested to see how it works because of how many people are there. We may have more people on the panel than show up, but still, hey, it's really cool to see that many you know, tools and vendors all come together to just kind of have a chat. So these are, you know, historically a lot of like competitors and everything too. So it's cool that there's so much interest in contributing to this. You know, definitely kudos to Andrew for initiating it and scheduling all the stuff, and he's, you know, building some like marketing content and all kinds of stuff. So once that's available, if you're on Twitter or whatever, if you don't mind like liking or resharing or whatever, try to get the word out there. I think it's a cool event, and hopefully it's a good way for people to learn about, feature flagging in general, and yeah, just kind of like bring more people together around this topic. It's scheduled for May 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I always write it in Eastern time because that's where I live. So I guess you'll have to do the calculation yourself if you live in a different time zone. And we're gonna use OpenFeature's like social accounts basically to stream this. So Andrew has a tool, it's StreamYard or something like that. And so we linked all of these different accounts to that. So the event will be on Twitter, LinkedIn, and our YouTube accounts, and we'll try to share all that information as the event gets a little closer. But
So
yeah.
it's going to be simul streamed on multiple things, or it's going to be okay, cool.
Yes, that's my understanding at least. Yeah.
And is there right now, if we want to start like hyping this up, which I think is a good idea to get as many people there as possible, is there like specific links or things we should retweet that exist now?
I think coming maybe as early as today. Andrew had like some kind of Canva thing that he was working on, and he said that I think it was going to be ready today or tomorrow. As soon as that's out there, we'll, I'm sure, post it in the Slack channel. I've opened up an issue with the CNCF that hopefully they can help market it, and yeah, then just people personally retweeting or doing whatever. Probably our best bet. So yeah, hopefully early this week we can have a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to get all the providers together and maybe get some providers we haven't talked to in a while, like thinking about OpenFeature in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should be fun.
It's pretty
I'm
mad.
really
There's-
curious to see how it's going to go. But sorry, go ahead, Ben.
There's providers on the list that I've never heard of, which is pretty wild. It says a lot about the state of the segment, I think. Yeah, it's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's gonna be super interesting. I mean, yeah, like you said, there's ones I had never heard of either, and I looked into them, and like some are like little like passion projects, some are like pretty big, you know. I mean, not big, but like companies that like look pretty well established. It's been doing it for a long time that I've not heard of. So yeah, it's gonna be super interesting. And yeah,
It's useful for our spreadsheet, I guess. See some
exactly. So it all
visualization.
comes back to the spreadsheet. Yeah. So yeah. Cool. Perfect. Yeah. So I think if that goes well, Andrew's going to try to do something at some regular cadence around this. And so, yeah, if you have any thoughts or feedback or ideas or whatever, try to attend and let us know what you think. Cool. Moving on. Just wanted to let people know in case they missed the Slack message. Kobe from the dev cycle team reached out about some interest in around this like meta vendor migration provider, which is kind of like eh, again, I think naming is hard, but like it's like a super provider on top of providers, allowing for like controlled migrations or validation between two providers, things like that. We're going to just do a kind of like an initial kickoff at 2 p.m. Eastern time today. I just sent the people that responded to the thread an invite. So if people are interested, it's certainly open, and I'm sure we'll summarize our notes and keep them in a public spot somewhere if you're not able to attend. But basically, the goal is to like just talk through this, see what the goals should be for a provider like this, what's potentially missing, and how it could work. And ideally, probably have some kind of spec, either in the official spec or some kind of just documentation of like the expected behavior of this. And then, ideally implement it and write a few, possibly blogs and docs around this. I think there's been a lot of interest in this, like on and off, because I think there's a lot of, struggle basically between, adding a new provider essentially and going through this migration process, especially at like an enterprise level. So I think it's a pretty good opportunity for us.
Yeah, we have a couple of folks on our end, Adam and Emma, and working with Kobe that I think will be driving this over the next little bit. So yeah, I think we're basically trying to figure out what's the best way to interface with y'all and execute on it. But yeah, we're pretty interested in getting this going because it's been a pretty big pain point that we've seen from our customers. And yeah, I think it can help a lot of companies adopt OpenFeature if there's kind of a way to feature flag their migration to OpenFeature is basically kind of how I think about it. Most companies are coming from some internal system, so if you can get them to like convince them to like, okay, use OpenFeature, connect your internal system as an OpenFeature provider, and then if you'd like to migrate like to another system or like FlagD or something like that, you can use this meta provider to sort of be that migration layer through OpenFeature. I think it's basically feature flagging your feature flag provider. This is like the gist of what it is, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, so yeah, meta may be a good name for it.
It's also helpful for like most like large monoliths that are a decade old have like X number of flag providers, right? And so you're wanting everyone to use the same interface, but then you're wanting to hide the configuration story from them as well, right? And so for us, like we use it primarily to be like, this flag's somewhere. I don't care where it is. Go find it. And that's been key to being able to. Like, I don't think we would have been able to migrate onto it without that. So yeah, just all the. It's interesting because like every person I have a conversation with this about, they all have like a slightly different way they need it to work for their use case. So definitely coming together on some language, I think would be really useful, especially from the like SDK author side.
Yeah, maybe we could nail down a term once and for all what we actually call it. That would be great.
Yeah, and just like because I think there's a couple opportunities too. There's like we've talked about having it in like a listening mode, like a comparison mode of some sort, and some kind of like as Max saying, like we don't care where the source of truth is, just give us a flag. Like so there's a couple maybe modes of operation we'd like to define. So yeah, I think it's super cool. It also may tie back into like the observability and like telemetry aspect of it as well, like knowing which backend provider was the one that ended up like fulfilling this request could actually be an interesting and valuable piece of telemetry we could capture. Cool. Yeah, so just I guess to bring that home, if you are interested, let me know. I'll probably post something in that Slack thread as well right before it starts with like the Zoom link or something, and you can pop in. Not sure if we'll record it. It probably depends on if I remember or not, honestly. And so Jonathan and Max, if you don't mind reminding me, I can try to do that to make it easier to share as well. Cool. That's it for that section. Any questions or concerns, complaints? Nothing? Okay, cool. All right, over to you, Lucas.
Yeah, so it's just like a small thing. We integrated OffRep and Go feature flag with OffRep and FlagD into the playground. So if you want to try it out, you can now in the playground. I think I can have a quick, yeah, I can just quickly prove that it works. So we have it in here. You can switch to FlagD. See that FlagD OffRep provider is working. You see that Go feature flag OffRep provider is working. And that's basically already it. So it's working now. You can try it. You can try the newest version of FlagD and Go feature flag for that. Try it out and see like how far it works for you. That's already it. So we just have it now. You can play with it and see it.
Very cool.
All right, perfect. Yeah. Any other thoughts here? Looks like we're basically through the list. Anything anyone wants to add?
I have one small update. Well, two really small updates. React SDK, we released our first non-experimental version, 0.3.1, I think. Yeah, and then 0.3.2 for a small bug fix. So yeah, people are welcome to use the new official React SDK. It's not 1.0 yet, so there could still be some breaking changes, but I think we're all feeling pretty confident about the API. I've gotten really good feedback so far. Second one is .NET SDK. There's a lot of work being done on that right now. So if you're interested in .NET, you can maybe join OpenFeature-.net, the Slack channel. Specifically, we're doing a 2.0 soon, and that's really just because our first pass of the API, we got some stuff wrong, unfortunately. So we're doing better async support, more idiomatic naming, and cancellation token support. for all of our async methods, which is cool. But .NET is a surprisingly popular SDK, to me at least. So yeah, if you're interested, take a look at that.
Just to add, like Kyle wrote he wrote the Flagsmith React stuff, and he didn't complain about it, which is really good because he's very unusual. So yeah, was really pleased with that. Yeah, he really liked it. So yeah, well done for everyone for that.
Glad to hear it. Yeah.
And then on the .NET, this it's massive. We have so many calls with large companies that are Angular and .NET. It's just unbelievable. I don't know why those two go together. They always do. It's like hugely popular combination and stack. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of weird, and it is weird that they go together frequently, but I think it's not a very vocal community because it's very, very enterprise oriented. But yeah, I mean, I worked at a shop previously that was entirely Angular and .NET, and I think it's a very common stack, and one that we want to definitely support well, even if it's not the trendiest or the most vocal. It's important.
Yeah, it's semi-related to that. So when I was kind of going through the rabbit hole or a couple days ago on the .NET SDKs and looking, like .NET has their own like feature flagging component, I guess. And so I was looking at and how we could basically better like partner with that. I did leave a message on a couple of GitHub issues that had mentioned like OpenFeature support and stuff. But if anyone has any like, I don't know, contacts on the Microsoft team or something, it's probably a long shot.
Didn't
But
Alois talk about this like years
he
ago?
did a while ago, and I'll need to follow up on that. But it's just making the right connection, I think, because there's like Microsoft's obviously huge, and figuring out if it makes sense to try to go through this like flag management like system that they have, which I think is based on like their config abstractions that they have essentially.
I think you can ask your colleague Daniel Dara, I think his name. I
Mhm.
think in the OpenTelemetry there are a few Microsoft people involved.
Yeah, okay. And I might just pop into
Also,
their channel too and see, because they actually are part of their runtime and stuff. So like maybe someone either
yeah,
from Microsoft is super heavily involved there, or they're watching the channel at the very least. So
I think there's one Microsoft person, at least in the past there was one at the OpenTelemetry JavaScript group, so you might know like the person you could contact
okay.
to find the right contact within Microsoft.
Because that might be nice, and it also kind of goes back to that like Meta and super provider or something. If they ship with a bunch of nice like easy tooling, but then it's all of a sudden like, well, I'm outside of, or I have more than just .NET services or something. I want to have something that's not specific to this, and then like that whole migration process becomes pretty compelling. So
Because Azure's got a feature flag area. If you didn't know about that, like if you look hard enough, you can find. It's like it's the case for a lot of big platforms now. But yeah, I don't know if they connect to each other or not. I don't.
yeah, I think, I mean, that's
It,
kind of what I was talking about. There's like a feature like management portion essentially, which I think is based on their like dynamic config stuff in Azure.
Yeah, I think it's
So
called a Azure App Config, and there's a feature flag thing on top of it. I don't know how robust it is.
Yeah, it's problem with that is, for example, it doesn't support clients, and so that's like the largest problem with that, I guess. Pretty specific for, I don't know, .NET and especially like Kubernetes values, and so for this it's great, but
yeah, okay.
Because like that would be a great candidate for off-rep as well. And the same like GitLab have Unleash compatible endpoint as well, which it would be super helpful if they had an off-rep one too. Like that, just such an obvious thing to to build out.
Yeah, I think it's just connecting with the right people and teams. But go ahead, Thomas. Sorry.
Yeah, I think GitLab is looking at something else actually, because I see GoFeature like mentioned in some GitLab issues where we're wanting to move internally on they were doing. So probably it's also an opportunity to push for off-rep or something else here.
Interesting. All right. Well, if you are interested in especially the .NET stuff, we do have a dedicated Slack channel for that, and I did actually like post a few links to like the .NET the .NET discussion in the Microsoft org. So if you have any interest in that, pop in, take a look, read through the threads, comment, and maybe help connect us with the right people at Microsoft if you know of anyone that we can work with. All right. Anything else? Looks like we made it through the list. All good? All right. Well, perfect. Thanks for your time, everyone, and have a great day. We'll talk to you later.
Nice day.
See
Thanks.
you guys.
See you.
Yeah.